Alana is Tina.
Welcome back for another episode of Panic Brain Podcast. We just got home from the range from an IPSC Shotgun qualifier practice match.
It's practice for the qualifier. Does an arms match the major?
Yeah, well, we're getting ready for, everybody's gearing up right now for World Shotgun. So everybody's trying to qualify, all the local clubs are practicing for it. We just shot up at Reveille Peak Ranch, and our local friends over at Syntex hosted an IPSC qualifier match practice before some of the majors. And the overwhelming theme this weekend was, what the fuck? What is hit factor scoring and
all these rules and hands and.
So you shot quite a bit of shotgun, obviously, over the last 2 years. Today was different, obviously.
It was way different. It was
long, medium, short courses. So for those of you that don't know, IPSC, USPSA, they're very similar. One is international, one is United States. These matches require performance on demand.
yes.
And so if you show up to the local match and you're like, oh, I'm a 3-gunner and I just pull the pistol out and shoot real fast and
Super
Alpha
happy.
Mike, Alpha Delta, Alpha Mike, no shoot. And you're like, man, I did great. And they're like, your hit factor was 0.1.
You're like,
Oh man, that's not good. Well, the same thing applies for rifle and shotgun. So for those of you that don't know, hit factor scoring basically works out to each target on the stage has a value of target or points with it. So i.e. there's 10 targets, either they're a 5-point target if it's a knockover target, or 10 points if it's a paper, 2 shots, whatever. So if it's 10 paper targets, you have 100 points available, and it's the points that you get divided by your time. So hit factor is points per second. And for a lot of us, I'm super smart, so I don't fucking do it.
I don't math.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that go and they shoot a stage and they're like, actually our first stage today, the retreat, just so we're all clear, we all boogered, like everyone at the match boogered that stage. It was a retreat stage. It's a 10-round stage.
You can only have 10 rounds in your magazine.
And if you shoot open with a shotgun,
It don't
you
matter.
shoot 20-round mags. We plan for misses, not that we miss that much, but to have a stage that requires 1-for-1 with a shotgun at absolute blistering speed. You know, Tina went first, and our buddy Shafter was like, if you're finished, and basically saying you forgot a target,
As usual.
which like every third stage you're doing, right?
Yeah,
So, like,
but this again, going to the IPSC, like something you don't want to do because it impacts your hit factor.
so not only do you get the penalty of the miss, which is 10 points, takes off, and the lack of the hit, it's like a double penalty, and it, in essence, tanks your stage. And so
it's a big deal.
Tina shot, we had another local shot, PCC. I don't know why you brought PCC to a shotgun match. But then I shoot, and I had been ROing. We had a small squad.
Yeah, it's not squad. We move pretty quick.
And I started, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be deliberate.
But did we know you
Immediately
missed that?
transitioned to the wrong stage, had a miss, knew I had to reload, was trying to formulate where I was going to do my reload, ran by a target, had a stutter step for it, came back, and I was like, I'm done. And then I hear, if you're finished, I'll look over. On my blind side, of course, and I'm like, and I already dropped the mag and I had a round chamber and shot it. And it was like a terrible time. And I was like, okay, well, like, so if I was at Worlds at that point, if that was the first stage of Worlds, you know what I would have done?
Just go home.
Oh yeah, I would have.
Go to the bar.
If we're in Thailand, I would have gone and got some drink in a coconut or something like that, and I would have just shit talked everybody else, and I would have booked the next flight home. So yeah, like you can't have those things happen. And we talked about this in our training, our lead up to this. Like this is going to be completely different than any of these other matches that you shot.
Shooting
Because
quickly, knowing you can have pickup shots and that full capacity of a magazine, which is that comfort zone for me at least. And
yeah,
you don't have to throw as many reloads in there. But this one, you knew what was it? The retreat one was 8 rounds.
10 rounds.
10 rounds, and that is what you had in that magazine. So if you wanted to go quick and risk the miss and then that extra couple seconds for the reload, then, or if you completely miss a target or forget one.
Yeah. So as we're talking about this, for those of you that aren't familiar with the sports that we shoot, we play in the tactical games, we play in USPSA, we play in IPSC, both pistol, shotgun at this point. We're trying for rifle, PCSL, trap ski, sporting clays, tiddlywinks, pogs, like any of the competitive shooting sports basically we're playing in. And we've had previous questions where people ask variety of training, right? Like, hey, if you're doing these things, how does it apply? And I had this conversation today on the range where this is a very common thing where people are saying, actually the first thing was, I think it was stage 2, our second stage of the match, second day of the match. One of the guys, I won't name him, very good, very nice guy, was like, yeah, I'm done with IPSC.
It's a lot. Like your hands have to be on your side, your muzzle has to be, stated, they state where everything has to be, right? And it's just, it seems like it's a lot more rules than USPSA. I thought USPSA was bad.
Well, for you being that this was your first taste of international shotgun.
Yeah.
And there's several people in the squad, same thing. Like we had some of our local guys that had shot the local club where we're open. I can put a 20-round mags, and we're like, oh yeah, in IPSC you can only have 10 rounds in the mag.
My jaw dropped.
And you're like, oh. And so like, fortunately we had the kit. I'm prepared. Other people aren't, and like.
Let's just say I'm glad I practiced them reloads.
So as we go through it, like clearly if this is your first time showing up to a particular event, so for me this would be IDPA. For IDPA is the International We Don't Practice Anymore match. It's International Defensive Pistol Association. It's a sport that for some people is like the jam. For me, it's boring. They penalize you if you don't shoot in tactical order. It's not my sport. But for some, it's fun, right? So we shot a major match in North Carolina many years ago. And while we were there, they had a local range, an indoor range that had a night match basically every night of the week so we could go. And when we were there, they had an IDPA match going on. And so we just wanted to get more trigger time. We're out of town. We got time to kill, so we went and shot it. And it was their like qualifier or classifier night. And we go shoot with our kit that doesn't match any particular division. We don't know the rules. We don't have cover garments. And we're shooting, and like one of the stages you have to be moving while shooting a target. And so we're shooting, like trying to do the normal thing of like shooting on the move. And the gamers for that sport are like tiptoeing, they're like, I'm moving. And you're like, what? And so I shoot first stage, do whatever I'm doing, 3-gun version. And I turn around and Ara's like, got 4 fingers in there. He's like, procedural, you didn't shoot tactical order, you stepped on line, you weren't, whatever it was. And I was like, all right, I'm never shooting IDPA again. But if there's a match available and there's nothing else, like, yeah, I'm here, I'm shooting, so cool. Am I going to the IDPA World Championships? No. So we talked about this actually several times, but for those of you that don't know, we are making a run at Worlds. So last year and in previous years, I've had access to potentially be on the world team or go to World Shotgun Worlds, Rifle Worlds, different things that could go if I had the money or the time or whatever it was. And last year I opted out of the World Shotgun match in Thailand with some friends. I'm kind of regretting it, but just the timing wasn't right, schedule-wise and financial-wise, it just wasn't there. And we've talked about this, we're like, do you want to go to Greece?
Greece would be nice.
I mean, like it'd be fun, right? And so where we are shooting multiple sports, and we're not just experiencing them. We are, we practice up to an event, and we want to do this. We're like, hey, you're dabbling in IPSC for the first time. I'm very familiar with it. Like, I'm not going to cite the rules verbatim, but I'm very familiar with IPSC. I don't necessarily want to travel. I'm kind of lazy. Like, I'm going out of state.
International travel is kind of a burden to me now. Like, just going over the pond so many times, and you know what. And then you're going to be traveling with guns and ammo, and then it's just.
But, I mean, how badass would it be to put the American flag on your chest and all out to Greece? Like,
that's pretty cool.
So definitely we're in the same boat as a lot of people. We're like, okay, so we've got Dissident, we've got a couple matches coming up as qualifiers for Worlds, and hey, yeah, like I could run by a target, or I could have a target that I shoot at, so patterning shotguns. So Tina today, there's a stage, and she shot every clay on the stage.
Every clay, woo-hoo-hoo.
But two of them were designated as no-shoots, and did extremely well on the stage, like shot at cadence, hitter marks, hitter reloads.
Yeah.
It was a really good stage. But those two clay no-shoots, which legitimately was probably a pellet that broke them.
Yeah.
Cost 20 points in no-shoots, which basically took a hit factor and just like cut it down.
Yeah, it would have been a really good run.
And so if you do that at World, like either lead up to Worlds or Worlds in particular, a lot, like, I hate to pick on you, but like you've had the moments where you run by an array of targets.
Mm-hmm.
And having that moment where you come off stage and it's a club match and you're just upset about that, and you're like, oh my God. And I'm like, first of all, one, it's a club match, mistakes happen, and look at the 12 other guys in the squad with you. 11 of them are wearing jerseys, they're all pro shooters. 9 of them all ran by a target somewhere else, maybe not on this stage, but somewhere else today. So we started today on that retreat stage, and you boogered it right off the bat, left the stage, and then
everyone else.
Let's say 5 of the 6 shooters after Tina all boogered this. Like nobody in our squad had a clean stage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had the opportunity to like hit that button, you're like, I'm going home. Those 5 other shooters would do the same thing, and 5 of those shooters like all had great runs elsewhere in the event, right?
Yeah, well, that's how I was in the PCSL match as well. Like everything was going good. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't blown by a target. I haven't got a mic yet. I was like, this is going great. It was the second to the last stage. Blew by 3 targets, and it's like, well, what was the point of that? I was doing so good and extremely frustrated.
Yeah, and this is where it was nice. It's always nice shooting local matches with, I'm going to call them friends of ours, because some people like we meet for the first time. We may have shot other matches near them, but just maybe not in the squad. So like some people we know very well. Hey, good to see you guys. And other people we've seen before. And not to be rude, but I have a hard time tracking my own bills. Like if I had to dial Tina's phone number right now, like, sorry, you're early, ain't getting a call. So going through some of those things with new shooters or newer shooters to us, being able to help out. And, like I said, some people, this is their first time at a shotgun specific match on IPSC classifier, an IPSC style match. They're like, it can be very off-putting immediately of like, oh, this is, I'm just gonna, same thing with the Mill LE crowd. Oh, this is a tactical. They get their ego checked and they just leave. Okay, like maybe just seek the improvement of, I'm not good at this right now, you know.
It's humbling.
So we talked about this over margaritas. Bar muscle ups.
Mm-hmm.
So half of you guys are probably like really good at burpees and push-ups and everything else. Tina obviously clearly is good at it. She's level 2 CrossFit, and I'm a fat crippled guy, right? So like last year Open, I'm like never done a bar muscle up, never even attempted a bar muscle up.
I'm just gonna try
and
it
for the
real
adaptive
time.
workout, it comes up, hey, we gotta do bar muscle up, and I'm like, I'm gonna learn it 6 minutes before I go do it.
We're out there, I'm like, okay, this is how you gotta do it. I was like, I can't believe we're gonna do this.
Now, I'm clearly strong enough to do it. I'm just not.
It's technique.
I haven't practiced. I haven't done anything. And so when I get done with the workout, I was upset because like I knew my run at Adaptive Open was gone. I got beat by a 60-year-old guy or whatever. But I also knew that I had invested zero effort up to that point in that.
Yeah.
And we talked to a friend of ours. He's short, he's fat, he's kind of attracted to strange people. Our buddy Dylan, right? So, so we go and I post the workout, and he reminds me that he got a bar muscle up for the first time about a week prior. And he did it because he'd been working, but he didn't tell anybody he'd been working a year specifically on it. And like, good on you, Dylan. I love you, man. Good to see you making progress. But I had not. So like, I was not able in that moment to be upset about my lack of performance. But we see it a lot, whether I shoot a no shoot or I don't hit a reload or anything else. If I miss a mark. You know, club match, we put literally 2.5 minutes into a stage walkthrough because we're talking with our friends and socializing and doing other stuff. So if you miss your mark at a club match, you can't be upset. If you miss a bar muscle up in the Open and you've done no practice on it, like, okay, I'm upset, and either I'm gonna go down the road of like hitting a lot of effort to practice that, or in my case, I just said, gymnastics are weak, and I'm not going to do that. But so we have these defining moments in our shooting where we're going to experience something for the first time, and you know, either you hit that bloodhound mentality of like, I didn't do good at this, but I want to be good.
Or that's not going to happen again. So
Yeah, I'm never going to face this embarrassment again, or this, I don't like this feeling, so I'm either going to stay home or I'm going to get real good at it. So, you know, you've experienced this quite a bit over the last 2 years, and I remind you quite often that I've experienced this at the same flavor for 20 years of I hit a wall, I hit a failure point, I didn't put some effort in, and like I failed. And what did you do for, let's just say all of last week leading up to the shotgun match?
Reloads.
You know, hitting shotgun reloads and trying to figure that out. And then as we go to this match today, you had absolutely zero problems with reloads.
Yeah.
You know, videos to come. But the reloads were not the issue in that case. So like now you have this next thing of like, oh, well, I hit a no shoot. I hit that. I didn't hit my mark. I didn't, you know, like these things that we work on, and like now it's front and center. So like now you have the next goal to work on, and that's that super addictive thing that we all love in the community of we're either gonna fight for it or we're not.
Well, today with the buck shots, again, that sheet of paper showed its face yet again in, was it Florida? I completely missed that piece of paper, so I was out to...
Yeah, we talked about Florida, but Florida Multi-Gun, I mentioned it to a couple guys on the range today that at Florida Multi-Gun we shot 2 rounds of buckshot, and both of them were probably at when we shot them, it was literally like 8 feet. It was we're shooting paper at short range. And it was a fast presenting target. It was a static target, so it wasn't really that stressful scenario. So we started talking about patterning shotgun, and I know my patterns on chokes. I know them on tube guns. I know them on short guns, and you and I have worked on this, and in the moment that we're working on it, like, you're not seeing this event. So you're like it's either not registering or it's not important to you at that point. And then, as we leave the match, you're like, got it. Mm-hmm. We're gonna pattern buckshot. We're gonna pattern slug at these distances, and this is why. It created a new scenario for us where it gives us something else to work on.
Yeah.
And not just like, oh, I got punched in the gut, like I'm going home. But okay, and rightfully so. They're like, of the people on our squad today, how many people did you see have problems with buckshot? Guns malfunctioning.
Yeah,
they didn't know where the pattern was.
Not even on the target.
Yeah, and that's absolutely normal. Now at the highest level, you're going to show up to some event and someone's going to know every detail where the gun's hitting. And you're going to ask them, like, well, how much did you shoot before this event? And they're going to say, I shot 40,000 rounds in practice. And you're like, oh, okay, it's like clearly.
Yeah.
So, also today, we got to go do a little more practice with long range rifle. So the next thing is kind of common thing, variety. We get messages all the time, in-person training or at events. You guys see that, again, we're doing everything. I want to play in tiddlywinks. We want to do everything we can. We're retired. We have ammo sponsors. We get lots of time to shoot. So I want to participate in anything and everything we can. And I dragged you into the gas gun series. So this will be our second match coming up.
Yeah. Different venue, so that'll be.
Which, again, a new venue. So you get to go, where are we checking in? Where are we doing? And, we see the emails coming out about registration, or not registration, but check in. And, so you have all that apprehensiveness about what's going on. Like, you're not walking in like, oh, I've done this 100 times. Mm-hmm. And so you get to be new guys again. Mm-hmm. And, your first event, you did fairly well. You didn't lose. You didn't win.
Yeah, the hard part for that was again, different rules again, that you're so used to continue to send your round for 3-gun to see your impact, make your adjustment as you go. Well, you don't get to do that in the gas gun. You get a certain amount of rounds for a certain amount of targets, and you only get like 3 pickup shots, and you can't move on until you take that, and you hit that target you're shooting at, then you can move on to the next target. So that's a rough go as well, because at this time, if you don't know where your impacts are, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, some of the sports we shoot, you go to a club and they shoot like big boy size targets. Yeah. And you're shooting Volkswagens at 50 yards, and you're like, oh, and we're home for that. Just point press trigger. And then when you get into the precision rifle world, now we're not shooting precision rifle, we're shooting gas gun rifle, which is
with my 14.5.
You basically double your degree of accuracy, or cut your degree of accuracy in half is what's required. And we did not build equipment for this. My 3-gun rifle, I'm like, all right, it's my same Marine Corps Red Gold rifle, and you're shooting your little DD rifle, 14.5-inch rifle, because you got little arms.
Yeah, I loved it until that first gas gun match. I was like, man, this is, my holds are just insane with that tiny little thing. But at the same time, it's I'm not going to go out and try to be some precision long range pro. I'm using it for the premium practice as well. If I do good, great, right? If that's the goal, everybody's goal regardless, but it's experience behind the gun, these long range targets, knowing how to make my own corrections. Of course, there's no coaching, so it's, one of those things. And I get to see, and he gets to see my progress, and then our normal people who we squad with like regularly, like it's a nice thing when you actually improve. So
yeah, and that's a good point. You talk about the coaching, and you've got a big taste of this over the years because I'm kind of known, right, as being at least a shooter and participating and knowing what's going on. So I should be some help. But then I'm a full-time coach and instructor at the highest level. So by default, if you're shooting with me, you have to have access to all of the resources in the world. And the reality is, when you're on the clock, unless you're at the Uncle Ted's local backyard match, so, and you're like, oh yeah, thank you, and you get that hint. But everywhere else, whatever preparation you put into a stage, if you have 10 people with you, coaches, fitness, a nutritionist, an admin clerk that's doing your finances, whatever it is, whatever your preparation is irrelevant when you hit the timer because you still have to do the work, right? And so we're seeing these matches where on the clock, you're having to make decisions and making adjustments. And so that's a big thing of, we've kind of set the standard in our personal training of, even if I can say something, I'm not going to say something. Give me the opportunity to mess up. Give me the opportunity to show that I can do this.
I just when we do our local matches at Reveille, the long range it always comes in. It's like, okay, even though there's coaching allowed, I want to see my own impacts and make my own corrections. Everybody
and sometimes coaching is not really encouraged. It's meant for new shooters.
Yeah.
And you just have people that you shoot with on a regular basis, and they're nice and they mean well.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's been a bunch of times where it's probably happened with you where I do it to you all the time. I'm like, hey Tina, is your camera on? And you're like, yeah, I turned it on. Thanks, Dad. And I'm like, oh. And so the same thing when we're shooting, if someone reminds you hey, make sure you reload, and you're like, yeah, I got it. I know to reload. It's a 40 round stage. I have 10 rounds in the mag. And you're like, duh. So when we shoot long range rifle, that's one of the ones where it does make a difference who you have calling impacts for you.
Huge difference.
If they can see it clearly, if when you come off the clock, they can give you feedback that confirms what you saw.
Don't ask me to call your
Tina has the vision of a bat. It's sonar based, and but what did you say today when we were down there practicing rifle on the shooting mat? What did you say about that golden gun there?
Yours?
Yeah.
Oh, how much better it is?
Right. It's not better, but you liked it for certain reasons.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, do you want to strap that on your back and run 5 miles with it?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I love my little T-Rex, my little gun. And then that sucker's a lot heavier. Yeah. I don't even know if I want to offhand that thing.
So we're making a bunch of adjustments, and
it almost seems we make adjustments to my stuff a lot.
Now we've done this over the years, and I've said this where I run whatever equipment I run. I basically run a factory configuration from whatever vendor. I don't want to get something and have to just tweak it some specialty way. Mm-hmm. I want this is a Ford F-150. Sponsor us for. But when it comes to, let's say, rifle, we have a rifle that we run. My rifle and your rifle are completely different, by the way. She runs a 14.5 from Daniel Defense. I run a 18-inch gun at the moment. We're getting another 18-inch gun, but a much heavier rifle. And as we're going through, I run a gun that is a general purpose tool. it might not be the best in this environment, but I'm really good with it because I shoot it all the time. Same with pistol.
You know it inside out, so it's not like, okay, this is this gun, so it's a little different than this gun.
Yep.
This weekend. Yeah.
And you know, over the years, we've discovered that like what pays the bills in 3-gun is rifle. Rifle is I'm not gonna say it's the hardest discipline, but like you know where your holds are, and then you have to fight wind. Like, you know, shooting a 6-yard target is, everybody can shoot a 6-yard target. So
especially if it's one big target that you just have to get to on that big wide open paper.
Yeah, so we're finally starting to make some adjustments. I've been stubborn. We're finally making some adjustments to adjust our equipment as far as bags and bipods and everything else, because we shoot open, we can do all that. And being that you're this tall, and you got the little arms, like what fits you isn't going to fit me.
Right.
And so for me to hold an 18-inch or 20-inch rifle, I can do that. And when you hold it,
and your buttstock is that fixed. Like I couldn't even, when I was shooting his rifle today, I couldn't even switch my selector switch because I was so far back to where I only had this little nub, and my arms are so out, like stretched out.
Yeah, I mean, my rifle's custom fit for me. And so you started seeing that, like, okay, if I'm running around with a rifle, I can get away with, it's nice to have an adjustable stock or a shorter barrel. But when I'm actually running with a rifle on a bay stage or an action stage, whatever it is, the weight really isn't that bad.
You don't feel it
today. With your shotgun all day, what did you notice?
Oh,
chicken
there was
wing
no chicken wing, and I felt like
just a strong arm and everything.
Yeah.
But for 30 seconds. Now, if you had a 3-minute stage, you're going, oh yeah, for sure, chicken wing.
Yeah, or I'm not switching guns, running up and down creeks, and you know.
So with that, you know, we're getting ready to shoot a precision gas gun match tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
It'll be our second of the season.
Early morning.
We've got some adjustments on our gear coming. I have a new rifle coming, which I'm super excited about. It's not here yet. Still have to put so much time in with it, with zeroing, new optics. You know, these, between the three of us, eyes speaking, 1, 2, and 3.
Like, who's the third?
The vision is becoming an issue. So like,
because you're 40.
And like, you are so new to 3-gun or the shooting sports in general, where you come in and you're like, yeah, this is how everything is. It's standardized, it's published. There's all this information on the internet. Thank you guys. I'm the boomer that was like, when I came into it, we had to walk uphill in the snow. And we had to load our shotgun shells on the press and then put them in the gun and pump it. You know, not really that far. And even for me, there were guys that were like muzzle loading shotgun rounds when I came into the sport. So like, I'm relatively new compared to other people. But you know, being that I started shooting in 2006, 2006, and so like, as you come into it, there's such a leap in equipment, and there's so many options out there. And we tell you guys all the time, like we talked to one of our local shooters today, that there's equipment out there and it's, hey, what do I use? And I am not that used car salesman. You know, I use stuff and I'm stubborn. I'm stuck in the Stone Age because I fear change. So I'm still currently shooting a 1 to 6. Well, when I started shooting, a 1 to 4 was, oh my God, if you got 1 to 4, you're in it. You know, like me out to short dot or something like that. You know, like, but now it's pretty common in the 3-gun world where a lot of shooters are running a 1 to 10. Some of the, I call them boomers, but they're running 3 to 18s and everything else. I don't think you need a 3 to 18 for 3-gun. And if you need it, you got it. But, you know, looking at stuff and we're like, okay, this is probably a point where we're going to make an adjustment in the kit to keep up with the times. I think we're probably a generation or two behind. So like we should catch up a little bit. We're going from the iPhone 9 to the 13, right? It's not that far off. But with rifles specifically, you've seen as your experience grows that, hey, this works for me. You clearly know how to load your rifle, clean your rifle. When you hold a gun, you look appropriate in it. Now, there's a few scenarios where, as we talked about today, like my rifle gets me there. Do I want to fine tune this? Like, what is more important for me with a rifle? Is it important that it's lightweight and it's cute? Mm-hmm. You know, like I've got bedazzled rifles. They got to match. They got to, all my kit has to match. But I still have a performance-built rifle that's this. So like,
has to do the job.
Do I want to hit the targets or do I want to look good?
You look cute for the instant.
Yeah, I'm out.
Insta cute.
I look all right, guys. And so as we're jumping into that, we're going to see some adjustments to our kit. Mm-hmm. And maybe a minor adjustment, but still that stuff will be used for everything. Now, clearly, like, if I got to take 20 people somewhere, I'm going to drive a school bus. If it's just me, I don't need to drive a school bus every day. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to retire that DD of yours or the rifle I'm shooting, but little changes, right?
Yeah, little tweaks here and there to help me out at least.
And just in case anybody had caught on, Tina's wearing a sombrero. We're celebrating her recent acceptance into the U.S. I'm just kidding. No, he's so lost on that. No, but moral story. We're excited. We've got some changes coming. This is an opportunity for everybody to learn and grow. Now, clearly there's some things that we both, maybe you don't know about, but I do, and vice versa. Like, I still need help. Like, hey coach, is this a good form? And you're like, no, that's not a good form at all. It's not a proper bar muscle. But we're making a few adjustments. This is a kind of a journey that we're experiencing together. But if you guys have questions about what we're doing, what gear we're using, as always, we have our reviews of the kit that we're using for particular events and why.
Yeah.
I think you hit a milestone today, 60%. The goal is 50. You hit 60.
Yeah, no,
a 1-to-1 score. Your score to mine was 60% today.
I've had 60 with you before. Once. It was once, but it counts.
Or we can check the internet on that one.
Roll the footage.
But thank you guys for joining us. Yes. Stay tuned we got lots more exciting stuff coming up.
Yes.
Again, if you want to see what we're doing, if you have questions about our equipment, anything else, like obviously what we're shooting, as most of you know, when you shoot a match, like I'm thinking about other things, you're thinking about other things, you're thinking about other things. So there's stuff that's missed there. And as soon as you leave the range, you're like, hey, I wanted to ask him about this.
Right.
If you need updates on what Ace is doing or anything else, let us know. But thanks for following along with us. We hope to see you guys in the next one. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. And we'll see you guys on the range.
Bye. Oh, adios.